Oh, I should have done that to the mic, shouldn't I? What a twat. Right, I'm just going to get comfortable here. So I'm just going to have a nice relaxing discussion. Just a, you know, nice relaxing discussion. And the white balance has just gone to cock on here because I think the screen behind me has gone into dim mode. But, you know, that's fine. That's fine. It's going to be absolutely fine. Right. I've got a feeling I'm going to do a lot of editing on this video, as it's going to end up being like half an hour waffle, and yeah, you'd be falling asleep after 10 minutes, so I need to curb this. This is really about discussion, and to hear your views on this, really, guys. It's not that my view is the only view, and it's the only view that makes sense, and you all guys have to agree with that, because I know that that's not the way of the world. So I've been wanting to have this conversation, or at least make a video on this, I should say, for I don't know, a couple of months, but certainly more recently, after some of the escapades, or bad luck I should say, that I've experienced with some of my consoles recently, and you know, it perhaps sounds like I'm being a bit of a moaning git, but and it is inevitable that consoles are going to or hardware is going to fail. You know, you can buy a console nowadays and it can fail, so why shouldn't you expect a console that is over 20 years old to fail? It's going to happen. It is going to happen. But these consoles aren't particularly cheap to buy, and they're getting more expensive, and they are getting rarer in respect to condition wise, so it's starting to become a bit of a sort of issue, I think, for people, potentially. I'm the type of, and let's be honest, I'm a collector more than a gamer, really. I do not game that much on the collection that I've got. I game on a very small percentage of that collection, and it's current gen stuff and PC. That's where I'll spend 99% of my time nowadays, and my time is limited, so I spend that time on current gen stuff. However, because I've been because I've grown up with consoles, that's one of the reasons why I collect them, because it's nostalgia view, and not nostalgia view, it's nostalgia, and also because I'm in a better situation nowadays to be able to buy the consoles that I couldn't afford when I was younger, or I couldn't afford to keep them at the same time as buying newer ones and so forth. So it's a bit of a sort of it's a hobby. It is a hobby, but not in respect of the game playing. That is very, very limited nowadays. So I've spent a lot of money, as many of you guys have that collect, on both hardware and software. And whilst I've always dabbled in emulation, I've never preferred it, if I'm being honest. I've always preferred the hardware. I've always preferred playing the games on proper hardware, whether that is the console, whether it's CRT, you know. I almost take a sharp intake of breath if I was in a situation where I had to play a retro console on an LCD screen. That would it's almost no way on this earth can I do that. I just can't do that, because that's not what I did back in the day. So how can I do that now? Because it does look different, you know. So that's where I am with hardware. Now, as hardware gets older and older, as I've already said, it will inevitably fail. And I've also said that I've never really been that much into emulation. I have looked at emulation, I have played with emulation ever since it started. I have, but I don't game on emulation setups in general. However, what I have been thinking about more and more recently is the more time that I've spent, and this is on setting it up rather than playing on it, so I'll put my hands up to that, the Raspberry Pi, which I've done previous videos on. And the more and more you start to think, well, you know, in a few years' time, is it going to be emulation for me that is the way that I'm going to start playing games more often? The amount of space that the hardware and the software takes up is immense, and if you've got a good collection, it is an issue. It can become an issue. It can become a constraint in some ways in respect of how much you have, and certainly for me, you know, I do not live in a 94 bedroom mansion, so I have to keep a lot of my stuff in storage, and because it's in storage, it's not easy for me to play a lot of the stuff, certainly with the games, you know, because the games are large items when you've got a lot of them, you know. All of my, like for instance, all my CD based games, all my CD based games, I've had to put them all into CD folders, so all the cases are in the garage or up in the loft, and I've got, I mean, it's boxes and boxes and boxes of cases. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. But for me, at least then, for the CD based consoles, it's easier for me to play the games because the CD folders, wallets, whatever you want to call them, and I've got one up there actually, but I can't be asked to move it because it might move the camera, but it means I think each wallet I've got probably holds, I don't know, 50 CDs. That's got to be more than that. It's probably 100 CDs actually. It must be 100 CD, minimum 100 CDs. But it's like it's let me get it. I mean, you guys have seen these before, but right, so it's one of them, and I've got, how many of these I've got? I've probably got, I must have a good 10 of these. Things like that aren't as much of a problem because I can fit a lot into a small space. But cartridge games are a pain in the ass. I mean, I've literally only got for several consoles. With the console, it's like in a drawer, and there's a drawer below my cabinet here. So if I just put my N64, I've only got a handful of games here. Stupidly, well, I say stupidly enough, but because I haven't got the space here, so all the cartridges are either up in the loft or out in the garage. So I've got Mario 64, I've got Star Wars, Christ knows why I've got Cruising USA down here, because that's gash, and I've got Killer Instinct, and that's for the N64, and they're the only cartridges that I've got, the only cartridge I've got here. All the rest of the, you know, collection is elsewhere, and it takes me time to get those games. I can't be asked to go up in the loft all the time, can't be asked to go in the garage, I've got to pull the other car. It's just a total ball ache for me. It'd be interesting to know what you guys think about emulation, and this has been brought up several times before on other people's channels, you know, many channels that I subscribe to and comment to, and it's always something that I've wanted to do a video on but never got around to doing it, and I know it can be quite a discussion subject, it really can. I've personally got nothing against emulation at all. I've got nothing against people that only run emulation setups. Each to their own, you know. I feel quite, I can't think of the word now. I feel privileged in a way that I have a lot of the systems. I really do. I don't make use of those, and it takes up a lot of space. Okay, so recently I've bought a lot of cap replacement kits. Now, I haven't got a clue when I'm going to get around to fitting them. It will be months. I mean, I can assure you it will be months. I've got a drawer in here that, we're going back a few years now, every single CD console that I had at the time, and it hasn't increased since then, I spent a lot of time and a lot of money, really, locating down spare lasers. I've got spare laser units for every, I'm pretty sure for every single CD-based console that I've got. So I've got all these spares because I know that stuff's going to happen. But yeah, so if a CD unit failed, I should have a replacement for it. So that will save that console from going down the tip for sure, you know? Yeah, because that's a fairly straightforward, easy change. It'd be really interesting to see, to hear what you guys think about emulation, the way you think that perhaps your collecting will go, and what would you do if a number of your consoles started failing? Would you say, okay, perhaps it's time now to, you know, to not bother with original hardware now and so forth, and start to look to emulation? But yeah, thought-provoking, guys. Get in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I'll speak to you again soon.